Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. We were actually talking. We actually started talking just now, as a matter of fact. Welcome to Talking Dragons, take 2.
Take 2 of the night.
But that was we had a lot of talking points.
I mean, like you brought out all those props, and then we
Really
had to
great.
do, so much fireworks and fanfare. We had to clean it up, and none of that was recorded.
That was like a $2 million budget for a single episode. Easily. Guys, I am so sorry. When you have a terrible camera... Oh, shit. We get to say shit in podcasts. Welcome back, everyone, to Talking Dragons. I am your host, Yazin, and we are joined by tonight's guests, of course, Farah, who ran a spooky one-shot last month with Dread Bitter Sky. We've got our debut DM, who actually ran a game last night with 10 Candles, right?
Yep, 10
And of course, Anas, who you all know doesn't run spooky RPGs.
Yes.
And he is a terrible analyst and a terrible guest for tonight. But I like him on anyway.
You did forget Sora's name, though.
What's your name? Did I not say your name?
No, you did not.
Yeah,
Hey guys, I'm doing really well for my first time.
You did it with the megaphone for the first take, but then you forget this time.
The first take was fine.
Yeah, the first take was
Oh
fine.
my god. So Farah, Sora.
Which one?
I'm kidding. Let's talk a little bit about spooky RPGs, because tonight is the night of Hallows Eve, and we've got spooky RPG, spoopy day, spooky costume day.
Spooky day.
And let's talk about how spooky RPGs are different from like just regular RPGs. Because I've played spooky RPGs before, and I don't like scary movies. It's terrible. I hate it. I hate jump scares. But being able to join both of your sessions last time, it was really good. Like you guys set the atmosphere for it. It was all dark, candles. Like there's this feeling of dread in both games.
Ooh.
So what was the difficulty, like, getting people to get into that?
Thing is, I'm not sure if this also applies for Dread, because I have never sat through Dread before. But I guess the one thing is you gotta keep your players guessing most of the time. Like, especially for 10 Candles, because the thing that's always after the players is always changing depending on who's playing at the table. So I guess the most difficult part is just trying to keep that level of mystery for the players, and just keep them on their feet.
And when you say preparing those mysteries, because in a normal D&D campaign, when you prepare for mysteries, it's just, oh, look around the corner, it's an owlbear, and you don't mean that, right? Like,
No.
what kind of mysteries are we talking
But
about?
then again, it's not fair. Like, let me just interject for a bit. 10 Candles format. 10 Candles format is just you make it up as you go. Like, it's really make it up as you go.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the format, right? Like, you create the characters as you are, sitting on the table first,
Yeah.
and then you work with what is given to you on the spot. It's worse than our Dungeons and Dragons.
Holy crap, that's no prep at all. It's
harder.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's zero prep, but again, it's the difficulty is still the same. We still got to keep your players guessing on where and how it's gonna come up from around the corner.
One good thing of doing this is just hinting things when the baddie is not there yet. So
Like that.
you were mentioning the owlbear, yeah?
Yeah.
So let's say you go into a pretty safe-looking cottage in the woods, and your players are tired. They're looking for somewhere to rest, and okay, let's just use this as a temporary shelter. Quickly going in, they will realize that something's just a bit off. There's the fact that it's abandoned for a long time, yes, but there's some recent evidence of the claws on the floor. There's maybe the smell of dung somewhere. It feels like something's living here, but you can't see it yet.
Oh, like a build-up,
Yeah.
No.
You have to make a build-up.
Yeah,
and
a
you have
build-up
to
of something that's not there.
At
But-
least make it evident that it's there, but you don't have to make it obvious of what exactly it is yet. Just kind
So
of.
like you see a few claw marks here and there. You
Yeah.
see some traces of blood here and there, and then you're wondering, it's like, oh, is that a wolf? Is that a bear? It's a
Also, with an owlbear, it's got mixed plumage as well, so you can say there's owl feathers and bear fur. So what is living here?
It's very Steven Spielberg-esque. what you just mentioned there, because I watched somewhere that when they were making Jaws, Spielberg said it's not about what you can see, but what you can't see that's scary. And that's what he said, but in actuality, of course, he's trying to cut budgets and stuff like that. That's why the shark is fake.
Yeah.
But
You have to work with what you got.
it's
Yeah.
genius, actually. Like
It is.
you are scared of the unknown, definitely. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, like, just think of that iconic scene from Jaws where they're just like literally just doing nothing, no music, no nothing, and they know there's a shark in the water, but no one knows where it is. And suddenly, just the incredibly fake looking like Jaws, just like just comes out of the water, just like completely casual, and the one guy's like. And then we're like, I'm not sure about you, but as a kid, I'm like, oh god, it's there, run, turn the engine on, run.
To be fair, at that point of the movie, that was the first time they actually showed
Exactly,
the shark.
right? Yeah. So you're like, oh god, it's there. But you know, they haven't done any immediate encounter. There wasn't any music or chase scene. It was just oh damn, you're affirming that this huge freaking thing is right next to you, and that is great.
And music also plays a good part in it as well.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
music.
yeah.
Very much
Like
so.
last night's.
Whenever I sorry, were you gonna say something?
Oh no.
Yeah. Whenever I set up any game, not just a horror game, I always set up music. Like, what tracks am I going to play at certain scenes? When players come into a very bright and happy-looking town, there's bright village music that I play. If it's a more somber sort of setting, there's usually a lower tones, bass, and all that. In the case of, for example, Dread Bitter Sky, I had to do I was inspired a little bit by another horror movie genre. Trailer rather. Have you guys ever heard of Annihilation? The cosmic horror thing. So the music in that is very, very beautiful, but also freaking weird. It plays because the whole theme plays on refractions and echoes. The orchestral score is practically, it's always echoing and reverberating with these strange synths and harmonies. And then there's that rather infamous four note from the trailer that is the da, 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 that weird synth that sort of becomes that's sort of synonymous with Annihilation now. And I actually did use that track in the game.
And it was amazing because when someone had to make a pull, I recall that music playing in the background.
Oh yeah.
And he was freaking out so bad. He was blaming the Jenga and like, why is it so sticky? Why is it so slippery?
My hand's so shaky.
But
yeah.
it just added to the tension. It was really great. Yeah.
Also the fact that there is imminent danger that he can't see at the moment that he has to escape from, that adds to the dread.
Awesome.
Yeah. So music and ambience is like one of the first things I take to when I'm setting up the atmosphere.
What about you, Sora? Like, what was the mindset going into last night with the music? Because it was scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
For 10 Candles, because I used this for both last night's game and for the game I had with you, because I know I don't want to do the same thing I did for. I've done controlling the tracks and stuff depending on the atmosphere for a D&D game, as I've did for the Faust with a couple of friends. That one required some managing, but for this one I feel like you're for 10 Candles you don't know when what is gonna happen, when it's gonna happen. So for this I just go for the ambience. So it's just
ambient music, nothing like choruses or anything like that.
no, it's just constant ambience
Yeah,
music.
both of you have to share your like spoopy playlists.
Yeah, somewhere in the
share
graphics.
share it in the
somewhere.
group. Somewhere there. I not for anyone else watching. It's just an excuse so that I can use it too.
Sure.
So it's like a playlist that you do of just ambient music.
Yeah, it's just ambient music that's just constantly playing.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that, even like in just regular RPGs. Like I feel like let's just play some like rain, because you just want that feeling of gloom, and not particularly just any type of music, just gloom, and it's just rain all day. Like so I agree with that.
I usually just set up like if I'll grab some random OST somewhere, like some background music or whatever, and I'll literally label it When the party enters a tavern, that's dangerous. When the party enters a tavern and it's already completely fucked. So I'll just label them those names
Yeah.
because I am super lazy and I don't even remember what where the music or what the music song actually is. I'm just like, yeah, that title sounds about right. Just play it.
Oh my god. I have like bunch of lists, and Elder Scrolls for a home game is my favorite
I
track.
don't know what to use it for.
But the problem with Elder Scrolls is that they all kind of sound very somber, and I don't know what to play for each scenario and stuff like that. So I do love music, but I just randomly put it on. I think I'm more like Nadia as well. If I had Spotify, I'd just use Spotify.
Yeah, I mean, Spotify certainly does. Like, if you just search for spoopy D&D music, and like it'll come up. But then it's a hit and miss sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point that we can like kind of transition into the next question I got for both of you, because I noticed it yesterday for Sora's game. Now, D&D is not exactly known for being serious. You know, you can take yourself seriously, but most of the time you're gonna have fun.
Sure.
And you have 3 of the most chaotic players that I could possibly imagine in Brunei right now. Shout out to you, and Matthew, and Wafi.
You guys were fun though.
They were fun.
Well done.
When I saw the guest list, I was like, should I tell Sora? Should I warn Sora? Nah. I'm sure, you know, what's she gonna do, right?
I
She's
mean,
gonna kick him out? Am I gonna kick him out? No.
I mean the fact that you didn't reply to my question of how who exactly
right,
attended
yeah.
Party
this
composition. Yeah.
it's already like making me concerned.
Okay, why I didn't say anything was because I thought, okay, you're not gonna know any of these names. Does it really matter?
It's true.
It'll
But-
probably matter if they were here before.
But yeah, so my question is, dealing with chaotic players, getting them to role play in a spooky social role playing environment. How difficult was that for you? Did you find it difficult?
Especially considering it was my first time, as in like I have to manage.
Yeah, let's not forget that was your first game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was my first time that I have to manage people who I'm not very familiar with. So that by itself is already a challenge. And now that having to keep reminding them like their task at hand, that's that's really just a challenge by itself. But I like how they still manage to like still when they may there are times there where they may goof off a bit,
Yeah.
but there are times where they just go right back into the action. So that part I still like. So I just from there on I just constantly just keep it moving.
Yeah.
So just to keep them on
On track.
on track. At most.
So to Farah, like when we were playing Bitter Sky, I'd like to think we were capable of playing it seriously, but there were some moments where we couldn't help ourselves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, was that particularly annoying for you, or like something that you felt that you needed to control?
To my mind, it wasn't actually that bad.
Okay.
It was mostly of you guys digressing or like being overly cautious, mostly.
Sorry about that.
Overly cautious.
I mean,
When you can die so easily, overly cautious is just comes with the territory.
When I say overly cautious, I mean they pay a lot of attention to the environment and just do every small thing they can to save themselves. And I like that. I like that initiative personally.
okay.
Whenever it feels like it's digressing a bit too far, I do like to remind the players, what do you guys want to do next? Do you have a solid plan at the moment? And if they're still digressing, then I will pick up the pace and say, you hear something outside the window.
Yeah, that's the same point. It kind of brings me back to the digressing part. Just brings me back to the whole when the candles are all still present and everyone's just searching for anything that will help them to survive, like the blowtorch.
You are going to expect that all the time. In the 2 games that I saw, mine and last night's, the first thing that comes into their mind: can I find a knife? Can I find a shotgun?
I need to defend myself. If I can't kill the enemy, I'll at least use it to stab myself. I'm going out on my own terms.
Which don't you think kind of adds to the like creep factor? The fact that you are helpless. You are not a magician. You're not a wizard. You're not a sorcerer. You don't
Oh,
have any
yeah.
magical items.
Oh yeah.
And
There is no potion of healing.
There's this one game, like, could have been 10 years ago. It's called Amnesia. Ever heard of those? Amnesia,
Yes.
Dark Descent in particular, was
Yes.
my most favorite to watch video because everyone was freaking out when they watched it,
Oh,
when they
yeah.
played it, because you are just walking in a mansion full of undead people.
That
And
pretty
you have
much
no way to
like
defend yourself.
snowballed a whole genre of horror.
That's
I
true.
think I think it started with that, and then it went into Outlast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outlast was just a sort of extension with that. It's the same thing. Like you're a reporter. You are not a fighter.
Yeah.
All you are armed with is a camera and possibly a flashlight, or was it the camera light?
The camera,
It was
like
a camera
IR light or infrared light
yeah.
or something like that.
I don't remember. I don't think I got the chance to play Amnesia when I was a kid. I think for me the equivalent to that would have been the early Silent Hill games. Because I mean, when you're so used to Resident Evil, you know, at the time where you're like, okay, I have this many bullets, I could just keep shooting. But then in Silent Hill,
It's
Damn,
very
it was
limited.
it was
Hard.
so
Very,
spooky.
very
Like
so hard.
you have a gun. Oh, thank God I have a gun. It's got 2 bullets. Oh God. And you see the nurse up
It's-
ahead without a face, and you're like, oh God. Run.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
even with a gun, you know, like
They don't
But-
go down in one hit. No.
no, and and it goes back to that whole spooky RPG thing where you're trying to just don't give them weapons. Like, does that go through your head? Like, let's not give them anything that could make them feel safe.
Well, I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Uh,
They could
Aw,
they could get
so
the
nice.
weapons at first,
Young DM.
and then like the shotgun that just didn't work last night. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, that
Like-
could work.
could have been an opportunity to troll your players.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was jammed. You know, it blows up in your face.
Yeah, in the case of Dread, normally you don't give your players weapons because the whole point is to make them feel helpless, right? There are certain settings where you can give them a weapon, but the chances of winning are slimmer.
Right.
So like, because the whole thing is like, anything that you do which is not of your skill or is something that's very dangerous, which does include attacking a monster, then you have to pull a block from the Jenga tower, which is the Tower of Dread. The usual rule for this is to have a creature which doesn't go down easily. Yeah, like say if you have a shotgun, which is normally quite powerful, you might face them with a monster that might be staggered, but doesn't go down immediately.
You mean like a ghast or some kind of like, you know, like hulking zombie? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
something like that. Yes. Or in my case, weird, awful sand monsters.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing other than weapons that you gave us, which I was very surprised to get, was a phone with Wi-Fi. So in the game, in the modern setting,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
you were given a phone and you were given like 3G or 4G or Wi-Fi, which is why I kept asking like if you have Wi-Fi, because there's so many advantages to that. But you actually played me because you
Yes.
anticipated that. As a matter of fact, it became a
So-
storytelling tool too.
So the main inspiration for that actually is, have you guys ever read Creepy Twitter?
No.
No.
So Creepy Twitter was a trend from 2017 to 2018, in which people create an actual Twitter account and then pretend to go through a horror scenario.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I do remember this, yeah.
A one that is quite infamous right now is the sun disappeared, or something like that. Or I forget the exact name, but the sun disappeared is a Twitter account supposedly from an alternate reality where it's an apocalyptic scenario where the sun has literally gone out and the world has been plunged into eternal nighttime, and there are monsters in the dark. So our Twitter account user is just live tweeting like all the bullshit that goes on. Like,
Yeah.
I see red lights outside, and then there's like a anonymous message that tells him don't look at the red light.
Yeah. Oh, those are so
Yeah.
good.
So
But they're so spooky.
Yes,
You
they-
can never read them like in the dark. I mean, like that's there's very few things that can stop you from, scrolling down your social media wall.
It's amazing.
That's one of them. That's one of them. You're
yeah.
like, yep, nope. I'm gonna
Oh,
go
and
read a book.
Another one is Dear David,
Ooh,
which is
that's a
about
popular
going to
one.
get
Yeah.
going to get a movie, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's going to get a
Sounds
movie.
familiar.
Dear David is a recent story, late 2018, by Adam Ellis, who
The-
is a comic artist from
BuzzFeed, right? Was it?
BuzzFeed, yes.
Yeah.
He told a story of how he was being haunted by a ghost of a little boy
Yeah.
with a misshapen head and a dent in the side of his skull.
Don't Google it. Don't Google it. Don't you dare Google it.
It's already there, man. I'm seeing the creepy little boy.
No.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
stop. No, don't open that. Don't open the images tab. Don't
Okay,
you-
BuzzFeed. All right.
So I was largely inspired by creepy Twitter actually, because the creepy thing about terrible scenarios or disasters happening is that when people do live tweet stuff like this. So what I was intending to do for Dread Bitter Sky was that when something horrible is happening in the city outside, there would be residents live tweeting, "What the heck is this?" And then they'd be having like live streaming or taking videos,
that kind of
Snapchats,
thing,
and actually providing footage of what horrors are outside.
You're actually, again, that's amazing. You can translate that kind of feel of horror into D&D, where it's the storytelling is so very limited because you have players who will do their own individual thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's actually quite amazing.
Thank you.
I think I'll continue the line of questioning with like getting your players to role play like a little bit more.
Okay.
Like with the hardest thing about being a player is you want to feel in control even though you're not. And there are instances in last night's game and of course in Good Bitter Sky where we kept thinking like our first thing we need to do is grab some supplies and grab a gun. Now, as a role player, I don't think this would necessarily be the thing that a player would do, like a person would actually do. Like the first thing they would do is like call someone or just like run away as fast as they can. But because we're in a horror RPG, we have to do stupid things. Like, are you for that whole like, you're not really playing to your character for this creepy RPG. I really need you to stay in character kind of thing, or are you just gonna keep working around that? Or do you punish your players in some ways?
Well, I'm not usually the type to punish my players. I think I'm a bit too nice with the DM like that.
Me too.
Whatever. When a player has a trouble role playing, and here's my slight as a DM. I'm not super insightful in this type of things, so I normally rely on like the more obvious cues of like like this very brave person is like is suddenly becoming very indecisive. So I will ask I will like prompt certain things like what do you like to do? What does your character do? And just like encourage them to encourage them, but it's not technically it's not up to me like how they're going to roleplay their character because it's their character. Yeah. So if there's a slip up or anything, I'll just go around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you,
honestly,
Sora? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so much for punishing players. To be honest, my only experience is just with 2 games in general.
Okay.
So, but with 10 Candles, it's because you keep switching the control of the narrative between the GM and the players. So for them, they have quite a lot of agency to work around their characters, especially in the beginning, the scenes where everyone is invested in interacting with each other. So for that, I didn't see so much of a problem with roleplay, but along the lines when they have dire situations, that's when I would have to start prompting them. So it's pretty much the same thing.
So this one isn't necessarily a spooky RPG question, and I'll open the floor to Anas as well. How?
Don't ask me questions on spooky RPGs.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily related to it, but like, how much time do you give your players to interact with each other, and do you do it as a way of like figuring out, okay, what happens next? and do you kind of just like feed off the players as to what happens next, or do you have a set story? I know you don't necessarily do that with Bitter Sky, but I know Ten Candles has to do that. But was that something that was important for you to kind of like have the players interact with each other, to kind of give them some sort of like stake or, some sort of connection, so that it becomes harder to just let them go or let him do whatever he wants? Yeah. I mean, we can start with Anas. Like,
What?
yeah. Like, do you like allow a lot of role play for?
I mean, I love role play.
Yeah.
And, I enjoy it. It's funny and it's fun, but I think the most boring answer to your question is, it depends on your players.
Is there a mechanic in it in Pathfinder? Probably
boy.
not, right?
This boy, you're testing me, boy. Anyways,
Pathfinder Second Edition is great, guys. We have it in the store if you'd like to buy that.
And
Our
I would
sponsor for tonight
recommend
is
that
Wild
you
Magic
try
Store.
it. I'd recommend that you try it. It's something new if you're a veteran player who wants more nitty gritty. Anyways,
Yes.
I was actually going to refer to Do you remember running Weirder Things?
Yeah.
Which in a
course.
sense it was right. And
Ooh.
yeah, it's in a sense your version of a horror, and it's much closer to what I would imagine I would do in D&D in a horror.
Yeah.
But because for me, I don't know how to do horror. I don't know how to set up that thing. And in your case, you gave us our backstories, and we had, something that we could work off.
Yeah.
And because there's some of us, like we were all getting to know each other, and we figured out, it's like, hey, we can play off each other's thing.
Yeah.
And because you gave us that backstory, and when we did something in that sense that we had to, react from our backstory, you kind of, DM'd in a way that reacted to us playing that role. And so it was so much more easier to play those moments. And I mean, do you remember Nikki, right? Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah.
Nikki's great.
Nikki's
I like
great.
Nikki because it's so much easier to scare her.
She played it great.
Yeah.
And when she's afraid, and it's not like we're afraid of these kind of things, but her playing it, was so good that we're like,
We're just feeding off.
you were
it.
feeding off it, yeah.
MVP all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And every single RPG she's played with me, she's played Everyone is John as well.
Mhm.
She just bangs it straight out of the park. I
Exactly.
really like her.
And it's great that you can play off that kind of thing. And so when you give them backstory, you get to play off other players, and the DM gets to play off the players.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the kind of thing that really helps that kind of role play, that kind of spoopiness.
Yeah.
But it's not like you can expect that of your players. Some of them don't want to role play. Some of them don't know how to role play certain aspects.
So to your point,
It depends.
It makes it very difficult for these two to kind of like engage the players in that manner because
No, these guys are naturally spoopy,
Yeah.
so they don't have to try it.
it'd be great if they have like an all-rounder, right? But it is if it's to your point, I mean it's difficult for you to give them a more cultured or a more thought of backstory,
I'm pretty sure they could come up with something.
But yeah, I think for example, I never thought of Weirder Things as a spoopy RPG.
It didn't start off like that, but it ended up becoming that.
Yeah, I thought it was genuinely scary for kids. That's what I was thinking. Like if you played as kids, you would be scared. But if you were adults who were level 2 or level 5 who had weapons and stuff, it wouldn't be as scary.
But then again, playing as you gave us the roles as the kids.
Yeah.
We're kind of, in a way, we're kind of like, it's not. We're kind of putting our feet into like how we were like as kids. So we're kind of, it's kind of like being brought back. It's kind of.
It's
like,
easy to,
Kind of nostalgic.
Yeah. I mean, me
Nostalgic
play
horror.
a nerd. Oh, it's a bit of a stretch. Me playing a nerd, but I found my role.
I mean, it's not exactly fitting for Sora to play the cool kid either. But there you go.
Really?
Oh,
This
I was
isn't
the
the cool
tomboy.
kid?
Oh,
I was
you
a
were.
tomboy.
Oh yeah,
Oh, you were the tomboy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure, totally not a tomboy.
Sure.
So.
Is that a roast? I'm not even sure.
No, it's a fact.
Fact.
But yeah, what about you, Farah? Like, again, just reinforcing that point. Do you think you would need a more cultured backstory just to kind of add to the atmosphere of fear for them? Like,
I try to. I try to. I'm like the type of DM, and I think Matt Mercer is that type of DM as well. I'm the type of DM who will not shy away from a player character who has a like 4-page backstory, because I like reading that. I like reading what story the player comes up with.
Wow.
Like, if they have a specific viewpoint of the world, I will would love to incorporate that into my setting. If according to the backstory they're like afraid of heights or something, or they are afraid of insects, then I would
Put them in a room with insects. Oh, you cruel person.
or
Well done.
Make a man full of
create-
made of insects.
Oh.
create a
gosh.
giant moth creature that with tentacles that drags people up in the air.
Oh gosh.
You know?
This is a really old movie, but do you guys remember a movie called The Candyman?
Oh yeah. Oh dude. Which one?
I've
1, 2, or
heard
3?
Okay, I've
First
heard
one.
the
The
urban
First one?
legend, but
Oh,
not
so good.
not the
bees?
movie. I have never seen it.
Me neither.
Classic, man. Come on, it's Halloween. Oh man.
Probably the last scary movie that genuinely gave me nightmares.
Dude, you're missing out.
No, it was the last movie I ever watched.
Oh my gosh. Spooked.
Oh, we got
Surprise.
people from the chat here.
Oh.
In person.
person.
She left the tissue. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I remember Candyman being a really hard movie to digest. It was the kind of movies that gave me nightmares. Speaking of which, when I played 10 Candles, and I talked about this last night, I was so paranoid. I was so paranoid.
I saw those texts. Yeah, it's like I'm so paranoid. I'm
Like,
okay.
okay, Dread was great, but it was nothing compared to the unintentional environment that Sora put us through, because when we played in that dark room over there, it started raining.
Yeah, just
There was a blackout,
Oh.
not in this particular building, but outside.
yeah.
None of the lights were on.
Just for context,
Damn.
just for context of everyone at the table and anyone watching, when we're playing, because there is the stage in the 10 Candles game where each time the candle goes out, you're supposed to establish the truth of the scene to move it forward, and everyone at the table has a go at it. So what I did at the time, I recall I did set it for it to start raining in the scene, and eventually as the game progresses, the rain started. And
Wow.
along the line, because Yazin was, he was facing
Outside window.
Yeah, he was
yeah.
facing the outside window, and at some point the lights just went out.
Oh, was that what was happening?
Yeah.
Oh damn.
And you know how she starts 10 Candles?
Yeah.
The world went dark.
Uh-huh.
And so it did.
And so Sihir, Allahu Akbar.
Oh my
When I went
gosh.
home, she went to bed straight away because she was already tired. But I couldn't keep my eyes closed. I just lied down like this, looking at the shadows in the corners of my eyes. I really wonder what happened to Nadia last night too, because she was like creeped out as F.
For extra context as well, Yazin is also the one who keeps failing the rolls for everyone in the party. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess that
I
makes
caught
him
that too.
extra
Okay,
paranoid.
all right, sure. But you didn't, when I spoke truth, you wouldn't give me anything.
Yeah, no, you were demanding a helicopter.
I was also demanding a pilot's license.
That is not a part of your character. I couldn't get that.
I didn't ask for a gun. I'm just saying I could probably fly.
Is that why you wanted that as well in Bitter Sky?
Yeah. That's my
Oh
go-to.
my god.
So
You
that's
have
where
a
it
theme,
came
man.
from.
It's always some kind of
My
like vehicle
goodness.
with you, isn't it? It's like a ship or a helicopter.
Uh-huh.
Something you can just kind of like yeet out
I mean,
here.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't a helicopter a flying boat?
Oh my god.
After the
that's
shit,
right.
I'm out.
Okay. Well,
gosh.
I've got like a couple of questions more for you guys, and after that, we'll kind of like go into just random questions.
Alright,
I think this is more towards Sora and Farah, but if you have a suggestion, let me know. For anyone who wants to run a spooky RPG, what is the main thing? What is the main thing that you would give advice to?
That's good too. Yes, please.
I go by when it comes to setting up stuff. Number one is music for me, anyway. always set up. I always set up like what type of ambience I want by choosing music and just putting them in order. Second thing, and I think this is something that any spooky game should have. I go by the rules of cosmic horror. I go by the rule of don't make your players see the monster until it's too late. You have to hint. You have to be. You either give too much detail or give very little detail.
But never give like the exact.
Never give the exact one. You can talk about how a room just feels odd to you because you feel a buzzing in the air, and you can, and you feel a sense of dread, or you can just go on and say, you can smell blood but you don't see it. You look around and then you see under the door of your mother's bedroom, you see a darkening pool and an acrid smell coming from that direction. From inside the room, you hear scratches and growls.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah. And going by the cosmic horror thing, I can quote H.P. Lovecraft on this. The greatest emotion of mankind is fear, and greater than that fear is fear of the unknown. And that's kind of like my general rules when it comes to spooky.
Yeah. It's a good thing I'm dead inside. But... What about you, Sora? What is your like big advice for a guy like me who wants to start like doing spooky RPGs?
Okay.
But I have no like experience on horror.
I can agree with the points that Farah has given. So all I can do is add on to the points by saying, basically just kind of don't rush into it, because you're a storyteller, and as much as you want to scare the living crap out of your players, you just take your time with them and just keep them on edge.
That's good.
That feels powerful.
Yeah, that both really good. I have a question, just not an answer to your question, but a question to them.
Okay.
Sure.
In my head, I'm more of a narrator type. So like for you guys, do you guys take any example of the style of narration from if you've seen them Tales from the Crypt, that kind of narration style, or Twilight Zone? Like we enter in the room of an ordinary Bruneian family, but unlike every other household, this one household is inhabited by no one, and yet the lights are on. That kind of narration, or are you more Tales of the Crypt?
That is odd, for a house to be empty, because Brunei houses are 14 people each.
Point taken. Yes.
And you go like,
do you guys take any like influence from that kind of narration? I would very much like to know.
Gosh.
Would you like to go first?
You can go ahead. I gotta think.
Alright.
Yeah, because I got a bunch of inspirations.
For inspirations for how narration works, I don't have a particular one. For me, when I want to narrate, I just kind of imagine it as I'm also kind of writing a scene. Because personally, I write often, and the main thing I like to do is focus on the imagery and kind of like set the scene in front of them. So I just really focus on just kind of heightening the senses of the
Heightening the senses. Okay, I get you, man.
just engaging the senses, basically.
Do you live in a spooky environment? You know when they say, you write what you know, do you live in a spooky environment? Is your head, like inside your head, is it always spooky?
I'll leave that up to you.
the mystery. Oh my god. But
in my case, does it surprise no one that my my game master narration mostly inspired by Matthew Mercer?
I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I can see it. Yeah,
So,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Because Matthew does this thing where he, you've mentioned like setting up the senses, like mentioning what do the players first sense when they come in.
With imagery and all, yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Although in my case, not too much on imagery, because usually that's the first thing people think of. I rely on like hearing and smell and like and also the sort of like that those fuzzy feelings that you get when you're entering a weird aura, sort of like a room.
Oh, so yeah, like it's a kind of perspective. Like in your case, you want to set up the environment so then the people, like hearing it, they react to it. And in your case, you're setting up how people react to the environment.
Exactly. And narration wise, again, going back into cosmic horror, I think I fell in love with Lovecraft's weird storytelling like a long time ago when I was a teenager. I've read a lot of his short stories. I've never got around to reading his longer works like the Call of Cthulhu because I simply didn't have the time. But and I think like just like I love that that sense of oddness, you know, and that's what I try to add to my narration.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it's a good practice actually. Now that you think about it, it's almost as if when you set the setting for a fantasy RPG, you sort of want to do that. There's the 3 S's: sight, sound, smells, and you want to be able to describe each and every single one of them, but not all the time. If you can, when it's important. And yeah, I guess that does draw from my theme research. Not an insult, by the way. I didn't notice. It's not an insult. I'm just saying that you felt like you had your own narration style, and you know, these two are perfect for spooky RPGs. And I'll tell you why. They are very good at narrating slowly, and when you narrate at a certain tempo, it does create an atmosphere.
That's true.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I remember trying to convey sadness in my campaign RPGs. I would just slow the F down. Just really somber, almost as if you're tired kind of voice.
I didn't realize I do that. No, you're pointing it out, and yeah, I do actually.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I guess it's just something unconscious. I guess.
See, natural.
And naturally
Spoopy people.
naturally spoopy ones.
They've got some crazy stuff in their heads.
To the opposite side of that, whenever I do a chase scene or if I want them to feel a sense of urgency, I raise the tempo. I just start panicking when I speak, and I just like start talking really fast. You're going around the corner. What do you do? What do you do? Like just kind of like push them into that kind of thing. So that's a good point. I think
it's definitely a good tip for our DMs.
For DMs, right? Okay, so we'll open the floor to random questions. None? I've got a few.
Sure.
Fire away.
What is the actual? Okay, so we played Dread. We played 10 Candles.
Okay.
What other RPGs are out there that you guys want to try that are spooky as well?
Oof, Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu.
Oh,
That's-
yes.
that's-
Yeah,
Yes.
I am so waiting for someone to play because I'm not sure about you. I follow this one dude who one of the earliest like online resources that I've learned to how to play D&D is this one guy who makes animations, right?
Ooh, okay.
Puffin?
And what?
Puffin?
No, not Puffin. More blocky, more flatter,
Okay.
rigged type animations.
Alright.
I can't remember the YouTube channel off the top of my head. But then now he did that for 5e, and it was great learning about the action economy, all that kind of thing. Very basic, but really, really handy. And so now he's doing
It's
it for
good,
Call
right?
of Cthulhu.
5e.
Yeah, and now he's doing it for Call of Cthulhu,
Oh my gosh.
and it is really. I'm so intrigued. I'm like, okay.
You gotta send me a link to that. I gotta see.
I'll link it to the group. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But when I like saw those series of videos that he made on how to actually run like a Call of Cthulhu, I thought, damn, that's really good.
Call of Cthulhu, like that is like Lovecraftian RPG
Absolutely,
Oh yes,
yeah.
absolutely, yes.
proper. Like,
Oh,
I think they played it on Critical Role as well one time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Taliesin's-
yeah.
Taliesin's.
Taliesin's one shot.
Taliesin's
Yeah,
That was
game.
one shot. That was also pretty good as
it
well.
was also really good.
Oh god, the production on that was stellar.
Are you,
And plus, it was Taliesin running it, so
Oh yeah, he is a
executive
eldritch,
goth man.
executive goth and actual archfey god.
so we're not a Critical Role podcast. We don't really talk about
Yes,
Critical
sorry.
Role,
Fine.
but Undeadwood, the production value of
yeah.
that though,
Yes.
is also pretty good.
It's
I have yet to watch.
way
though.
too good for like you keep forgetting at times that this is a they're playing a kind of D&D session but then
Yeah, kind of.
kind of, but it's so the production level is so far from what you'd expect that I kind of find it hard to classify it as like a standard session.
This is the kind of stuff like you'd watch on like cable TV or
Exactly,
something.
yeah.
Oh God.
Amazing stuff they're doing. If you notice, we've also started upgrading our stuff with hopes
Yes.
of matching up to Undeadwood, but we cannot afford $6,000 cameras, guys.
Yeah.
But that was good. I think. What sort of like RPG system are they playing? By the way, Undeadwood. Is that? Do we know? Like,
I believe it is Deadlands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Deadlands.
I believe it's Deadlands.
Okay, so it's not really like a spooky RPG per se.
No, it is.
Although the setting itself does have undead
Yeah.
elements to it.
Yeah,
But
it's
oh god.
from
Yeah.
what I know, Deadlands is supposed to be. It's a post-apocalyptic setting.
Mm.
So yeah, there is spooky shit in the ground, waiting to spring out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think.
Okay. So I think the Call of Cthulhu, Ten Candles, all great RPGs. I mean, looking ahead. Other than that, what is the one RPG you guys want to run? Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, I don't know, man.
All right, you have 5 seconds.
It could be any version between
Where's the bleep button?
between 3 to 4, maybe in the middle between 3 to 4. Whatever system that might be.
Hey! I'm not shitting on D&D 3.5.
Oh yeah, that existed. Yeah, man. We could try that
Where's
too.
the camera? I am not shitting on D&D
Something
3.5.
else is happening.
I'm just pooping on Pathfinder.
Who said anything about Pathfinder, man? But yeah, you're right. That is something that would be interesting to try out.
There you go.
Sometime.
Yeah, sometime would be great. 3.5 particularly. Yeah. Anyway.
3.5 version 2.
3.5 version 2.
Oh wow.
Well, coming up this month, by the way, we have a few one-shots ready for you guys. Next week, I'll be running, what is it called? Battle at Edgecliff. It is a one-shot where a group of villagers have been forced into conscription to defend their village from an army of were-rats. I am trying a bit of Strongholds and Followers. If you've ever seen that book, it's a book by Matthew Colville. It's really good. I was reading it all day, actually. I did not do any work today.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. And of course, Farah, you've got a one shot after that.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Okay. To be honest, I have a lot of one shot ideas. I'm kind of juggling in between two concepts at the moment. They're both going to be D&D 5th E. One is with the concept of a changing the tide of fate. Let's just put it like that. Yeah, and that one actually, that one is the concept is that there's going to be 3 mini events that happen within that 4-hour interlude, and if something is, I roll a table, and if an event is very unfavorable, the players have a choice of forcing me to re-roll the event again, so hopefully they may have something favorable, or possibly getting something worse.
Are you turning Final Destination into a game?
Maybe.
Kind of
Maybe.
sounds like it.
It
Yeah.
does, doesn't it? Like they're playing and then you roll and they're dead. And then you're like, would you like to re-roll? And then they succeed. Oh, it was a vision of your death. God damn it. That's a good idea too. Damn.
Maybe. That's just the one shot. The other one shot is another spooky thing, and it's I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the urban legends of cursed advertisement.
No.
No.
No. So you know how this is both on TV and on the internet, by the way. On the internet, I think some people may be familiar with cursed pop-ups. I think one that comes to mind is the Red Room.
Okay.
So it's a pop-up that comes up and it's all red and it says, "Come watch your Red Room." And the idea is that if you do anything, even to click the close thing on the pop-up, then you're already doomed. The idea is that if you interact with that cursed ad, then you'll first have nightmares about being in the red room, which you don't want to be, and then I forget if it's 3 days or 7 days later, you will end up in that place, just taken, just like that.
The ring.
Uh,
You got a ring situation.
a
Like
little
urban
bit.
legend style.
A little
That-
bit.
Yeah.
The one that the curse that I'm playing with is a radio ad,
Ooh.
Radio ad.
and it's a cursed radio ad, which is in itself is based on another cursed urban legend about the Kleenex baby. So, in let me explain. In Japan, many years ago, I think it was in the 80s, there was a television advertisement about Kleenex baby wipes, and the ad featured a baby oni, as in a baby demon. So this was an actual baby painted red with a little horn. He's wearing tiger skin, and he's being tended to by a human mother, who's just wiping him down with some of the baby wipes. And all the while, there's this creepy song that plays, this very eerie song that plays in the background, and the cinematography is slow. It's a little bit blurry for some reason, and it gave the people in Japan such a sense of unease that there was a rumor going around that anyone who watches the ad, you have to change your channel before the ad is complete, otherwise you'll suffer a heart attack or something.
Damn.
Yeah. So this is the other one shot.
Okay. I mean, it's a lot like the Porygon.
So
thing,
you
right?
either have
No, that's seizures, man, not heart attacks.
Sure.
oh yeah, the Porygon thing.
Oh wow.
So two
you are
spookies.
you are such a delight to be around.
Hey, man, it's
blame
an
my
amazing
childhood.
level of creativeness, man.
Honestly.
Blame my
Yeah.
childhood. I had
Oh, were you trapped in a red room when you were child?
no. I had a lot of spooky material growing up. Not to mention, I used to have night terrors, so I know the feeling.
Ooh, again, you can play what you know.
Yep.
That's. I did not have that kind of experience growing up.
I
no.
guess
Oh yeah.
again, dead inside. I play to a lot of sadness.
Boo!
There you go. Well, you're just a happy-go-lucky child, aren't you? Well,
Dare you? That makes me unhappy.
Well,
so that proves your
because
point
it's always
incorrect.
so fun to have to play in your RPGs, man. The Muppets One Shot was a great example.
I'm mostly there to screw around. That's what I know. That's what I know. I play what I know, screwing around.
All his campaigns and one shots have something to do with devils and demons. And
Oh, no
stuff.
doubt. I know you. But that's as spoopy as it gets, isn't it? But they're
Because
just
they're
screwy devils. though.
Exactly, they're fun. Like eternal damnation. Because you made a deal the one time. You weren't thinking it through. That's fun.
So we have a question on the chat. When was Jihan's first experience?
Oh yeah, what the heck, man? Thank you, guy in chat. I completely forgot about that question, and it's an important question. It's an absolutely critical question. Thank you very much. Who is it? Give him a shout out. Who is it?
Yeah, it's Wild Magic Store.
It's an Anon account. So Jihan,
Yeah.
let's hear it, man.
Okay, there are several different. Your question is very much no. I am not.
We want this on record, man.
Oh, fine.
That's right.
Oh boy.
Here we
Oh
go.
boy.
Get a chair in here. No, you're sitting in there.
Stay there, G.
Come in here.
Can you see? Okay, yeah, we got him.
Yes. Hi, people of the internet. I'm back.
I mean, you weren't gone to start with.
Yeah. So yeah. My actual very first experience with D&D was actually online through a video game. Okay.
Make it a little bit more saucy,
A little bit saucy.
You for your first time was online
Yeah.
over video. Okay, go
Over
on.
video,
There was a
yeah.
goblin.
Yeah, go on.
No, I wasn't a goblin back then.
I mean, there was one.
Yeah, there was a goblin
Alright,
involved.
go
in
on.
that.
It was video.
No, actually, to be quite frank, the first campaign that I actually played and finished was the Essence campaign.
Oh.
Mm.
Yeah, I rushed that one.
Baby
on the way.
Because technically every other campaign that I've ever joined never really finished. Not the live ones anyway on tabletop. But that's why it made me feel like, okay, maybe I should try running my own campaign. Because I hate an uncompleted story. I just hate it.
It's an OCD.
Yeah, it's a bit of
Yeah,
an
I get
OCD
that.
on me, on my part, where if a game cannot, a story does not end properly, I will create my own ending.
I mean, to
So
your
it's-
point,
Yeah.
I hate it. I hated the fact that I left one campaign unfinished, and I was determined to finish this campaign, Violet's campaign.
Yeah.
It ended up being Violet's campaign for some reason.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't
True.
find a better title for it anyway. But yeah, that's a good point because sometimes campaigns they just end because there's just no interest. You
Yeah.
don't know where's going on, where is it going.
And most importantly, your players are busy with life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out to Hazik who's in KL apparently. No?
What? No, he's back. He's back.
Oh, good.
He's at my table now, where he gets to wonderfully screw up my table, and it's beautiful.
I'm very curious of what's happening on your table.
This,
At the same time, I'm
you
here
can
for
you can ask my players. You can go ahead and ask my players. Just
He
watch
hates having me at his table. just
only
because-
because you screw my juju, man. I mean, I don't like fudging my rolls, and so I usually just use the actual rolls. And my juju with regular dice ain't great. It's as you'd expect.
On camera, right? On camera, on microphone, on the record.
Yes.
Yes or no question.
Right.
In the Brunei D&D community, do you have a player you hate?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's mighty honest of you guys. That was not as
No.
controversial as I thought.
Yes,
Yes, I have one player I hate.
Come on, dude. Everybody plays a different way. Everyone's
Yes.
got something they're looking for.
But when you take it to a personal level, it's
That's your own.
And
and I
that's
think
your
we're
own
gonna
thing.
end it right there.
That's right. Oh, so just to return back to that earlier question.
Yeah.
So to Anonymous there, who was asking about Jihan's first time, let me summarize that for you. His first time was online over video, but then he had a thing going on with Yazin, but then he rushed it, and there was a baby involved, so that he couldn't
Yep.
end it.
Yep.
So then he ended up just giving himself a happy ending. That is.
Can I interrupt you there?
Yeah,
Can I
just
interrupt
point
you
out
there?
there was also an unfinished affair somewhere. In there.
Yeah, r/ out of context.
Yeah, can I? Yeah, that remove the context. It just sounds.
Yep.
That was his entire
I
plan right
didn't.
there.
I didn't realize, man. I
was
just. I guess
Probably
happy
the perfect
coincidences.
way to end the podcast, I guess.
Okay, that's about it. Yep.
Thank you guys for watching. We will try to be more regular with these podcasts. As a matter of fact, I think I enjoyed it a lot, and I think 1 month is not enough. I want to have you guys here as many times as possible, if I would like.
Sure.
So thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And of course, we've got one shots all week, every Wednesday. We've got Adventures League on Friday, and we've also got Adventures Wanted on Sundays. Wild Magic is a very happening place if you want to play D&D. If you want to buy dice, please buy dice. Buy a lot of dice. We are making dice as we speak right here.
Oh yeah, we can't
Thank
tell
you
the
very much for
camera, but
watching.
I see like pink dice being painted right now. They look good. Look good.
And have a good night.
See you guys.